Welcome back to the Dream Season Football League 6, the series to determine the greatest dynasty in the history of the National Football League. Week 10 begins with Peyton Manning, who has a league-high 16 touchdown passes. He battles the 2000s Tennessee Titans, and against their division foe in Nashville, it was one of these type of days. Somehow, the ball bounces off of three defenders. Randall Godfrey recovers, and then Manning, as this one just could not bounce his way, leads to another interception of the third. This is Blaine Bishop, 52 yards on the pick six for the Titans, and 2000's Tennessee knocks out the highest scoring offense in the league by the final score of 28-6. The 1940s Cleveland Browns are right back into the playoff mix with an impressive performance against the 1960s Houston Oilers here at home. The Browns gained 385 yards, over 100 from fullback Marion Motley. The Browns dynasty, which won 5 world championships in a row in the 1940s, they look like a championship team right now at 4-4. The 1950s Detroit Lions, winner of 3 world championships, well, they have lost their last 2 games by a combined 5 points. The first one was in overtime, but Joe Schmidt, the Hall of Fame linebacker, picks off Joe Theismann and gives the Lions a 10-0 lead after 1. In the fourth quarter, the Lions are up by 1 score, up 16-8. Joe Theismann, who passed for 3 interceptions in the game to just 175 yards. He would push the Redskins close to the end zone here, needing a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to tie. Yet Detroit's Les Bingaman wraps up Theismann and forces the Redskins to use their final timeout. Then on 4th and 26, with the game in the balance, Theismann, with a good throw to the end zone, has this pass off the hands of a Redskin receiver. As we look at the replay, off the hands of one of those guys in the end zone, incomplete, and the Detroit Lions hang on. They are tied with a lot of teams at 6-3 for the best record in the league. The matchup in Lambeau between the 90s Jaguars and the 60s Packers was no contest. Green Bay, which was the 11 seed coming into today, is the 7 seed going out of it. They are now in the postseason mix. After a brutal start to the season, Green Bay has won 3 consecutive games, including a blowout against the Jags. The 1980s New York Giants aren't quite as lucky as the Packers with a blowout win to be back in the discussion for the NFC playoffs, at least as of today. Myron Guyton picks off 2 Tommy Thompson passes, 1 return for a score. Then Everson Walls brings 1 back for a Giants touchdown. That is his 5th to lead the league in terms of interceptions this season. The 80s Giants, the dynasty that won 2 Super Bowls throughout their run with Bill Parcells, they weren't a very dazzling and spectacular football team. They just seemed to win the games they had to, and this was one of them in a blowout against their division rival, Philadelphia. The 2000s Tampa Bay Buccaneers head to Charlotte, and they put on a show early in the game. Mike Allstott and company orchestrate a 13-0 lead in the third quarter, but then Martin Gramatica misses just his 3rd field goal of the season off of the goalpost, and this would wind up being the momentum swing of the football game in Carolina. As the Panthers' D'Angelo Williams, he takes it in from 13 yards out, and then on 3rd and goal, Brad Johnson loses a fumble forced by Davis, and Kurt Coleman returns the fumbled 90 yards for a score. All of a sudden, the Panthers, who had been rolled in the first half, are in the lead with 2 minutes and 15 seconds to go. But Brad Johnson, who finished the day with 314 yards passing, he throws all over the lot and guides Keenan McCardell to the 12. 2nd down and 10. This for the win, intercepted at the 4-yard line by Thomas Davis. Tampa Bay was dreadful in the red zone today, as you saw, with the big turnovers. Meanwhile, the 2010s Carolina Panthers just continue to hang around as they did in their Dream Bowl season last year. 14-13, the Panthers are now 6-4. Tampa 5-5. Well, of course, in a franchise that determined the greatest dynasty in NFL history, the 1970s Steelers are almost always the first team to come to mind. And they would roll the 1980s Bengals today. Swan catches this touchdown in the first quarter. Then early in the third, James Brooks gets leveled by Jack Lambert, and Mel Blount scores his league-high 3rd defensive touchdown of the season. And the 70s Steelers would sack Boomer Esiason 7 times on the day. Joe Green had 3 of those quarterback sacks. And the Steelers take a resounding 2.5 game lead in the AFC North with their win 30-6 over Cincinnati. Both the 1990s Bills and the 2010s Cardinals are coming off losses last week. Now it should be noted Buffalo dropped a 27-0 game to Seattle. Here in Arizona, Andre Roberts kicks a football to Larry Fitzgerald. A stroke of luck late in the third quarter for the Cardinals as Fitzgerald turns it into a big gain. He finished the day with 5 catches for 102 yards and a touchdown. At the end of 3, his Cardinals are down at home 10-7. But then Carson Palmer, who had a brilliant day in the passing game for the Cardinals, goes deep and finds Brown for a gain of 31. And Arizona would convert the red zone drive with a touchdown pass to running back David Johnson, one of the league's most dangerous receiving backs. Kelly goes deep here and finds Don Beebe. He finished the day with 4 catches for 100 yards for Buffalo. Then on 4th and 5, for the first time in the game, just the 3rd time all year, Steve Kasker makes a catch. That's on 4th down. It leads to a touchdown throw to Kenneth Davis. By the way, his name is Steve Tasker, not Kasker. Buffalo would be tied going into overtime as Catanzaro hits a field goal to end regulation. Cardinals win the coin toss, but then Art Tomes of Buffalo records the 4th sack of the game for that defense, and Arizona would convert with one themselves on the next Bills drive, Adrian Wilson. Then late in OT, to avoid a tie-breaking scenario for Arizona, he finds Does Palmer John Brown for a gain of 25 that leads to the game winner from Chandler Catanzaro. The two offenses combined for 747 yards. What a performance for both of these teams, but Arizona continues to win these close football games to stay alive now with a record of 4-5, 342 yards and 2 touchdowns from the NFC Offensive Player of the Week, Carson Palmer. Buffalo drops a heartbreaker, 20-17 Cardinals. From the NFC West to the AFC West, 90s Broncos and the 70s Raiders. In the first quarter of a good one, Cliff Branch gets leveled by Glenn Cadres. Let's look at that again. Cliff Branch, he flies through the air as Cadres hits him. Even with that fumble, the Broncos couldn't capitalize. Fred Biletnikoff finished the day with 9 catches for 126 yards and this second quarter touchdown catch. Raiders at the half lead the game 13-3, and they would add on to their success in the third quarter of this one as fullback Marv Hubbard catches a 28-yard beauty downfield from Ken Stabler, one of the league's most dangerous passers. Yet on 3rd down, Dave Casper dropped the football, which could have potentially put the Raiders up by 20-3. Instead, they're up 16-3. Then Anthony Miller rips off a 34-yard touchdown pass, 16-10. Oakland in the 4th quarter. Meanwhile, the Raiders wouldn't go away as this offense rolls with 400-something yards in the game. Van Eeken pushes them close, and then Bob Moore is in the end zone for the Oakland Raiders. 2-point conversion, good to Cliff Branch, 24-10. 4th down and 10. Elway finds his Hall of Fame tight end for his first touchdown reception of the season. 24-17 Oakland with 2:38 to go in the game. 1st and 10, that's goes to the post time. Dave Casper for a gain of 26. The Raiders wouldn't do much after that, and Errol Mann, now on the season, just 9 for 14 on field goals, misses that one, giving the Broncos a chance. 2nd down and 10, Elway, with so many brilliant drives throughout his career in the 90s. He has a pass interference penalty to extend the drive, but then throws an incompletion here. So on 4th down, needing a touchdown to force overtime, he goes for the tie, and this one is knocked away from Ed McCaffrey. The Oakland Raiders go from worst to first. They are now, with the 2-game winning streak and victories in 5 of their last 6, they are now the best team in the division. Gary Zimmerman and Tom Nowlan there at the bottom just add to the list of injuries for the Broncos. Terrell Davis will return in 2 games. Oakland is now the new first-place team in the division. The Raiders next week fight to keep their crown against the 2010's Kansas City Chiefs. The back-to-back Super Bowl champion dynasty, the 70s Dolphins, led by the great Don Shula. They have had interchanging quarterbacks throughout the season, but Larry Zonka, he hasn't been hurt all year. He has been a mainstay for this offense. A big gain here to begin the second quarter for Miami's Hall of Fame fullback, and then Warfield catches this touchdown to put the 60s Jets away. Another brilliant day for Larry Zonka, 24 runs for 143 yards. The 70s Dolphins improved to 500 with a win over the Jets, 23-13. Fresh off the injury sheet, it is the quarterback out of Wisconsin, Russell Wilson. 5 touchdown passes, even though he's missed a month of the year with a torn labrum he suffered late in the game in Week 4 against Miami. His Seahawks would roll the St. Louis Rams in the first quarter. Maxwell with a pick six, 14-0 Seattle. But then Russell Wilson would have one of the worst second quarter performances I've ever seen in the DSFL from a quarterback. A sack force fumble recovered by Tommy Poley for a Rams touchdown. That would be the first score of the game for St. Louis. The very next snap for Wilson is another fumble and is recovered by the Rams. That would lead to an Ernie Conwell touchdown. Then Wilson, 3 snaps later, would throw another pass into the hands of a Rams defender. That's Mike Jones. And St. Louis converts with a 14-yard touchdown from Warner to Torrey Holmes. The Rams lead by 7 here late in the second quarter, and they would have a 6-point edge over Seattle in the fourth quarter of the game. A pivotal 3rd and 13 for Russell Wilson and company. The quarterback couldn't see anything downfield, so he just throws it away. The Rams would use up 4 minutes on a fourth quarter drive and kick another field goal from Jeff Wilkins. And then Russell Wilson is sacked by the cornerback Aeneas Williams. 4th down and 8. This for the game with 1:07 to play. And he overshoots Doug Baldwin. If he hits him in stride, that could be a Seattle touchdown. So the St. Louis Rams of the 2000s go from 0-3 to 6-3. They are, without a doubt, the hottest team in the league right now. The 2010s New Orleans Saints were the hottest team in the DSFL, but they have lost games in back-to-back weeks to the Buccaneers and the 49ers. Carlton Williamson, the highly touted cornerback out of the University of Pittsburgh, has 2 interceptions on the day. Dwight Clark scores from 70 yards out as the 80s 49ers dominate the 2010s Saints 24-10. We just saw the Rams come back to beat the Seahawks, so they have the best mark in the NFC West. But the 49ers are just a half game behind them at 6-4 this season. 24-10, the 80s 49ers win again. 2010's Baltimore Ravens, 2010's New England Patriots. And one of the most amazing first half performances ever. Jabal Sheard records 4.5 sacks in just the first half. That would be his game total. Negative 56 yards. Look at that. Negative 56 yards passing for Joe Flacco and the 10's Baltimore Ravens. Gostkowski sets a new franchise best long 58-yard field goal for the Patriots, 19-14. And then Flacco fittingly is sacked for the 7th time on the night to finish the game by Joe Volano. The 10's Patriots are rolling right now in the AFC East. And a look at the division leaders, it's the Patriots in front. The Dolphins are a significant distance behind them in second place. The 10's Patriots visit the 60s Oilers next Sunday. Fran Tarkenton will miss a month as quarterback for the Vikings, so Joe Kapp is the new starter. And Gary Cuozzo, the signal caller out of Virginia, is the backup when the 70s Vikings visit the struggling 40s Bears. Now Joe Kapp scores a touchdown on his first drive of the game. That's to the running back, yet he wouldn't find the end zone again. Dick Plasman is in for the Chicago Bears. George Wilson sacks Joe Kapp for a safety. And then Adolph Kissel, the Bears cornerback, sets a league record with 6 pass deflections in the game and also picks off Joe Kapp here in the fourth quarter. Chuck Foreman breaks his collarbone and will miss the remainder of the regular season for the 70s Vikings as the 40s Bears keep their playoff hopes alive with a division win over the Vikings 21-7. There's all of the scores from the week that was in the DSFL 6 and also what's going on this coming weekend in the league. It should be an excellent Week 11 of games coming up this coming Sunday in the DSFL 6. The 1970s Pittsburgh Steelers, the team that won 4 Super Bowls with Chuck Noll, they are the hottest team in the AFC right now, having won 4 consecutive games. Meanwhile, second place in the NFC North are the Packers. They have won 3 straight. And speaking of hot teams, the hottest in the league right now with 6 consecutive wins is the 2000s St. Louis Rams, the greatest show on turf. The series to determine the greatest dynasty in NFL history continues with Week 11 of the DSFL 6 next week.